Hey, it's Jase. Welcome to Speakeasy with Jase. Facebook has totally changed up the way going live from your computer looks. It looks totally different. Today, I'm glad to be joined by my buddy Harold Maloy. I need to move this back a little bit, get us both in here. So, Speakeasy is our weekly show we do about speaking, sales, marketing, mindset. Really, what we want to do is help you use the power of speaking to make a difference and make a lot more money so you can touch more lives and you can help more people. So, Harold's on, and Harold is an expert on the brain body connection. We want to talk about is how your body shows up on stage. And let me set a context for this, and then we'll jump into it. We're going to talk about the untrained mind. Is that what you said? The untrained mind.
Yes, the untrained mind and body.
So, here's how this works. When you get on stage to do a presentation, what's in you is expanded on stage. So, one of the things we're going to talk about in a moment is when you have hurts, upset, pains in your life, those will lock down in your body and affect the way you move. And so, on a very subconscious yet automatic level, your audience will pick up in you if there's any repressed or unfinished or not dealt with pains and hurts. And they'll feel them on some level and they'll attach that to your offer, and it could get in the way of your sales. On the other hand, when you get yourself cleaned out and rocked out, it will do the opposite. So take it away. What are we talking about? And what qualifies you to be here today?
1998, I trained as a massage therapist, body worker at Central Florida School of Massage Therapy in Orlando. Also trained in structural integration through kinesthetic myofascial integration.
You just said a lot. Kinesthetic myofascial
integration.
Yeah,
it's a form of Rolfing. Can't really say that for the person who taught me. They're just different companies, different training styles, as many of these are. And I've also trained with on-track seminars and hypnosis. And did a lot of combination work with many people. So I've got years of experience of working with athletes and my personal clients about about unwinding and unraveling the magic that is our mind and our body and that connection, and how to optimize that with my clients and with myself, which obviously this is the whole concept of this conversation today is taking us from one standpoint, from understanding that whatever we are trained in, we will revert back to at some point if we don't keep the body trained, we do keep the mind going in the right direction. So it's about creating the foundations and creating these pathways to holding ourselves to a higher level. So
what does that mean?
Well,
say more.
Simply put, just something that I've always believed, and something I've just seen from just from my understanding of what I've witnessed with my clients and with myself, and is the fact that we have basic baseline conditioning, and I call it the very primal condition that we're born with, which is fight or flight. It's fear-based or love-based. So our bodies will react in a way of being open and receiving, or it's going to react in a scary situation, no matter what we think it is, to being locked up and not letting anybody in. And no one's going to want to talk to somebody who's like this. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe a mask right now is okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so maybe that wasn't the best example with the shirt over the face, but someone who's hiding out and who's restricted in certain areas, it's gonna put off a certain energy. It's gonna put off a certain understanding of people are going to automatically assume that's who you are, because they might be working in a primal mind as well. Whereas someone with training and understanding who's worked through some of these restrictions in their life will find that if you're open and you're receiving, therefore what you're projecting out and your energy and you're aligned with your thoughts and your body are aligned, what you're putting out there is going to be more received as exactly that, because it's been trained, it's been fine-tuned. So there is no incongruency. It's being in full integrity. It's at least up to a certain point, the point that you can understand yourself to be, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So here's how Harold got started with this. This is my version of it anyway. So I met Harold through this social club we were in. I found out he was a massage therapist, and this guy's like, the speaker at somewhere else was like, hey, if you want to change your life, get a massage every week. So I started getting massages from Harold, and then I was running my events, and I was like, I bet if you did chair massage in the back of the room, it could loosen people up. It would be a really nice like value add for them, and maybe it would get them, more enjoyable, and then they'd be loosened up for the sales. So Harold starts doing this, but he's actually helping like really loosen people up, and he's like doing some deep work with them. And at one of the events, my friend AJ's there, and people, when you have an audience and you're a speaker and you're speaking to sell, and it's harder to do this on, it's harder to read your audience on a virtual one. However, they're always reading you, whether it's virtual or live. So whether it's a webinar or seminar, they're reading you. You're at a disadvantage when you're selling, when it's not live in person. So anyway, what I'm saying. So these people are telling us whatever. And Harold's in the back of the room with AJ, and he's like, I could tell you what's going on with that person and that person because of how they move their body and where stuff was locked down. And AJ's like, and then it would turn out, it would come out, and it was true. And Harold was right. And am I telling this right so far? And AJ goes, can you teach other people how to do this? And Harold's like, I think so. So Harold starts teaching us how to read other people's body language. And then he starts incorporating hypnosis and transformational work and helping people let go of pains and hurts in their body in order to heal emotionally, and how to heal emotionally in order to let go of pains in their body. And so what we realized was, when someone has a trauma, it will show up in their body, but that trauma could be, when they were a little kid, they didn't have enough money, or who knows what it was. It's a really high level way of reading people's body language to get to their thoughts and feelings. So he helped us become more effective at our sales. And then he started working our events and doing transformational work with people. One of my favorite stories, we had a woman who was supposed to have back surgery, and he did a session with her, an hour-and-a-half session, and she let go of this deep trauma, and the muscles in her back that were causing her the pain that was going to have surgery finally could relax and let go. No surgery for her. So he started doing that, launched his own seminars, own workshops, and started helping people around the world. So that's kind of how we got here. So, So say some more. What's some examples of trauma and stuff that can be locked up in people's bodies that you're talking about?
It could be any kind of physical injury. Say someone had a fall, and if there's an emotional context, it could be anything coming down to if an injury took something away from that person. It could have taken a way of a dream or an ideal. Say someone I had a client a while back who had a massive trauma when they were a child, and put on a massive amount of weight on top of that, and wasn't allowed to have children because of this trauma. And the foundation of this human being, the pelvic floor, was completely lifted off. It was unrest, and therefore there was no grounding available for that human being. So therefore, anybody who's familiar with acupuncture or meridian lines or energetic balance of flow or just basic grounding, or anybody who even works out, you have to find your base. And if certain neural pathways or nerve endings aren't aligning, your body will never find its true natural strength. And in order for that to happen, we had to do some very subtle technique. It takes a lot of technique to get into some of these areas to really work, to be able to draw that back down and teach the breath alone, which is our number one tool, is getting that breath to get into the area and exhale all the way out. Finding that's the number one thing I think is the breathing is a key component to it. But finding that with this individual, the energy, everything completely went from here where everything was held up high to once we got the energy to calm down, it went, and the energy, the calmness that was coming off that person. If you will, for a moment, just take it for a second and just take a deep breath in, hold your breath, and then tighten everything up. And imagine you've been doing that, and now you're trying to breathe normally as you're tight. Now imagine you've been doing this for 40 years of your life, and you think this is you. I'm running out of breath. But you exhale. The difference is some people live their life as if that's who they are. And that becomes their conditioning. That becomes their norm. That becomes their baseline. And, for so many people, they're not even aware what's blocking them. They don't even understand what's locked down inside of them until someone goes, what's that? And then they're like, oh, we're not going to talk about that. Because the mind has created a mental block because of that primal fear. And it takes someone with technique, or sometimes just off chance, someone just has something massive happen in their life, and it goes poof. But once it goes poof, what happens then? Who's there if they don't have someone there who can coach you out of that space and take you, what happens? Sometimes that bucket never gets released. That circuitry never goes away, and therefore the pattern that caused it is still there. So it creates almost a bipolar loop, if you would say so. And it creates this loop where everything keeps coming back and refilling until it goes poof, because it's the only way it knows how to release. So it creates a conditioning of a pain loop cycle. And in order to release that, it takes the training. It takes a mental, physical, emotional, energetic, and spiritual conversation to realize it's okay. You can let it go. It's just one moment in time. And that one moment in time can cause conditioning for your entire life. It can affect everything you're doing. It can, in this setting here, it can affect how people portray you from a stage because you're putting off a certain energy. But what if that energy was released and it was trained to release and then dissipate, and now you reconnect to a different energy source. So you reconnect to a different intention. So now your body, you have all these thoughts. You're talking to your...
Hold on, before you go on, I want to address... First, let me do some shout-outs. Say hi to Dan Souder, Rebecca Albrecht, Josh Cantwell, Adam Smith, Summer Donovan, Jim Sheed. Good to see you. Andy Tolbert joined. Andy said, go Gators. Gators eat boogers. John Polish, good to see all of you guys. And then also commenting over here, Jordan Baker says, hello. Hey, Jordan, good to see you. Jordan said, God will benefit. He says, building a relationship with God will benefit this too. Spiritual gift is networking, communication, and translation. Yes, I am. Love it. Practice. Yeah, awesome. Cool. So here's what I want to talk about. Like, let's suppose someone suffers an emotional trauma, and that trauma just like attaches here, right? So they're going to be protecting this part of their body from, plus just for most people, that's a very tender part. You know, people, if you push in here around your body, it's very good. But let's suppose someone, and then they kind of lock it down. I'm going to over exaggerate it for the sake of this presentation. If someone's locked down like this, it's really going to show up from the audience's point of view. Like, what are they protecting against? What are they hiding? Well, the audience doesn't know that it's when they were 6 years old, their heart was broken when they went on vacation and they didn't bring their suitcase full of clothes, but really their dad should have packed it because they were only 6, and then they're in the bathroom crying, not wanting dad to see them cry.
And then dad made them
purely hypothetical.
And then dad made them buy the ugliest shorts to wear around on vacation.
Yeah, purely hypothetical. So they're covering that pain where it locked down in their body, right? But now when they're on stage, the audience will see that lockdown and be like, what are they protecting against? And if someone's protective around you, you'll start to get protective around them. And so then it creates this separation between you and the audience. So if they could spread that, get rid of that, so now they're not protected, now they're free and loose, the audience will feel free and loose. So what they found in a book called EQ, Emotional Intelligence, they put 2 people in a room, and if one does the speaking and one the majority of listening, the person listening will subconsciously and automatically mirror and match the body language of the one speaking. And they hypothesize that they do this because when you match someone's physiology, you'll just start to feel the way they're feeling. And so the hypothesis is when you match someone's, the audience automatically matches the body language in order to get the emotional state of the speaker, and in order to get the rest of the iceberg. You know, the words you say are the tip of the iceberg. The emotions and the context is the rest of the iceberg. So they're matching that. So how does that matter to you? What am I saying? When you have a negative emotion locked down, your audience will automatically start to feel it because of the way we communicate as human beings, and they'll feel that in your presence, and they'll attach that to your offer. And that happens whether it's a live seminar or a webinar. They'll feel what you are feeling, and if it's not positive and empowered and a yes to life, it will shut down your cells. It will shut down your cells and your sales.
Yeah.
It will shut down your sales. So
and going on that, we'll go back a little bit to the conversation with AJ and when he was asking me how I could read some of these folks, and I was like, well, whatever's not me has got to be them. You know, whatever I'm picking up from that human being, if I'm focusing on them, I'm watching their breathing. The challenge was I had to go and do all this releasing work of myself. I had to understand what triggered me. I had to understand that other things in my life could trigger me, such as, you know, traffic, stress. You know, how was my trip to the venue that day? How was, you know, is there someone in the room that reminds me of someone who, you know, bullied me as a kid, or whatever those kind of things could be.
Before you go on, how would you handle something like that? Because that's something that most speakers don't even think about. I would have people in a room who reminded me of someone that I had a bad interaction with. And so it would be natural and normal to be a little on guard about it. But then that's not fair to my client that's in the room because this person did nothing. So, by the way, as a side note, if you're going to be someone who's teaching multi-year trainings or multi-level trainings, when they finish year, let's suppose class 1 with you, if you do transformational work in your events, who they are when they go into class 2 is not who came into class 1, yet first impressions can last a lifetime. Mm-hmm. So you have to have a process in place to clean and clear yourself out so you do not relate to them as the beginning of class 1, you relate to them as someone new. I'll give you 2 tools that I do for that, and let's see what you've got. One tool I do. From the beginning of my interaction with one of my coaching clients, I relate to them as who they're going to be way over here down the road, not where they start. That's my goal, at least. We call black belt speaker training. People go up through a progression. I relate to them as a world-changing, centered, someone who can't be messed with, amazing, dynamic speaker. Now, that's not who they are yet. That's my goal, is to relate to them as that. So I give them a space to step into that. So that's one thing I do. Second thing I do, I consciously become aware of it. And if it comes up, I'll get coaching. Sometimes I'll even just say, wow, you reminded me of so-and-so, but you're not so-and-so. I'll just say it out loud, something like that. And then a third thing is, some companies do, is they won't let the same person teach multiple levels because of that. Because if you cannot clean yourself out and you're relating to your prospect or your clients in the room as who they were when they walked in, you will be pushing them back to that. You will be stifling their growth. And through the power of manifestation and through the power of your words, you will actually push them backwards. So instead of that, some people will put another person. I remember this happened. We'll tell yours, then I'll tell a story about Bill Duquette.
Well, I tend to look at people as the behaviors as a symptom of who we were, what created us, what caused us to get to this point. And one of the things I never wanted to be was someone's medication. I never wanted to be something that someone did use for self-medication. It was one thing to get them through a tough spot, to get them to retrain and rebrand and rebuild themselves for the future. I love using the analogy about golf swing, but you're conditioning yourselves on how to repetitively get that mental process, that feeling that, some of the best golfers in the world say it's about vision and feel. It's not about the physical act of the swing 90% of the time. You're actually creating this loop again. But I try to see people as a symptom, their behaviors, their emotional states as symptoms, which in my mind, it's, surrounding them with the opportunity to grow and believing that, it's one of my mentors always told me that it's my space in the healing arts, my space in helping other people out is never to, I can't help anybody out really. All I can do is hold the space for them to achieve, heal, accomplish those things. I have to hold that space so strongly that they can, because they come from a point where they can't. That's what's running their show. Mm-hmm. So I have to be that one who holds the tray and says, no, go ahead, play in this room, and allow them that space to feel safe enough to achieve whatever that is. So in my realm, it would be someone with an injury, someone who's got a neurosis that's not working for them, or a belief system that's not working for them, that's manifesting physically and emotionally. That's awesome. So I like to hold the space for someone to lift in. And then I like to see people as another strategy I use is I like to see people it's almost like watching you wouldn't judge a child the way that you would judge an adult going through a program. Even though if you really get into the nooks and crannies and dig down deep into what this work's truly about, you are going back to these core experiences, these core belief systems, which actually happen when they're a child. So if you could almost identify with a child in that person and realize that that's who you're oftentimes speaking with in the beginning, you could almost follow them from childhood to adolescence to adulthood. And then when they start achieving their own, then they start in that moment, when they go from student to, oh my gosh, look what this person's doing. Mm-hmm. And they start inspiring me. That's when I know the relationship is really made that full spectrum, that full circle. So.
Awesome. Let me do some hellos, and then we have some questions coming up. By the way, guys, if I'm looking off camera, it's because I'm monitoring the streams, and so we can say hello to you guys, etc. So we've got Bob Heron just joined. Bob is an amazing body worker out of Vegas. Dr. Bob, his title is Dr. Bob, Friend to the World, which I love. He was one of the first chiropractors I ever worked with that consistently did, really went into the mind-body connection like a lot. Super cool guy. Betsy Aguilar is here, and she's right over there. Tammy Dougherty, good to see you, Tammy. Tammy, congratulations, by the way. Tammy's a client of ours, and she's come. I helped her write a presentation, came to a training, and she landed recently a paid. I don't think it's my place to say how much she got paid, but I'll say it's a very nice paycheck to speak on a Zoom webinar for an hour. She got, really nice paycheck for that. And I'm so how nice to log into a Zoom and get paid nice money, more than most people make in a week to speak for an hour. Mm-hmm. So congratulations. Erica Keese, good to see you. Okay, Jordan says, so here's your question. Okay. Erica just joined. Erica, congrats. Erica has been crushing it on her journey to wellness and health. I think, how many pounds? Down 30 pounds, something like that. So Jordan says, how does this help internally? As a speaker, I sometimes find myself locking up during presentations from feeling stress. Any methods? Then he says, the best method for me is speaking with sheer passion, but intimidation in large groups will make me choke. Awesome. And Vicky Shaw just joined. Hi, Vicky. Vicky's my cousin. So got any techniques and tips for him? Because speaker sometimes locks up. And Jordan, thank you so much for the question. That's really awesome of you for being so vulnerable. Thank you. Erica, down 40 pounds, even better. So and on some level, most everybody who hasn't been trained to have their body represent well on stage locks up on some level. It could be they cross their legs when they come in the room. Could be when they take the stage, they take a step back. Could be they hold their arms wrong. Could be when they point across body as opposed to open body. Could be all kinds of things. So what can he do to get himself to open up and not get locked down during the presentation?
One of the things I personally worked on, and I worked on with some other people, was almost like a pre-game ritual, and what it was it was almost a verbal conversation out loud, including breathing, and sometimes you can even give yourself triggers, like you can pinch your fingers together, just certain things that you're going to create a trigger situation in your body. If you find yourself feeling that way, it's almost like you're giving yourself an out before it even happens. So if you notice your breath's getting short and you're starting to go in that point of, I wouldn't call it panic, but a moment of like fear pops up, like, oh man, what am I doing up here? And that thought process pops up. It's just like sometimes a little touch can go, oh yeah, just a quick touch, and it automatically can reinforce that thought process. Like that negative thought is, if you want to call it, it's not true. Number one, it wants you to fail. That's not the outcome. That's not the goal that anybody wants. So taking a strong standpoint even before you get on there, like, I'm not here to fail. I'm not here to have those things. So if I have that moment, I can give myself a trigger, breathe in, and take it out. And I had a moment the very first time I spoke in front of a group of people on a subject I was not well versed on, was essential oils. And I got in front of a group, and thought I was speaking in front of like maybe 100 people, and it turned out to be like a full room of like almost like 600 people. And I didn't really know exactly what was going on. I got up in front and I started doing the whole thing where I was like panicking. I looked at my book and I had this whole outline and this whole presentation created, and I was speaking on it. And I was looking at around the room and I started like freaking out, and I was like, and I was freezing, and I had one person who knew me in the corner, and I looked over that person. They were like, eh. And I stopped, and I was like, in that moment, I was like, I'm either going to run off this stage screaming and crying, or I'm going to have to rescue this in this moment. And so I said, everyone just put the books up real quick, and let's all start with where we need to begin. And that starts with incorporating breathing techniques. So anytime I've ever been nervous going on their stage, or I always go out and start with something I know it's going to reset me, and it's also going to make a physical connection with my audience. Mm-hmm. So it's not just, you can have the pregame, which is a very important piece, but always get out there and have almost something incorporated into your speech, which is going to take you and the audience. It's going to cause, number one, a connection with you and the audience, but it's also going to connect you to that routine that you're in because you've done this speech numerous times. You've practiced it. Everyone take a deep breath in. Everyone exhale. Everyone reach out to the right. Everyone reach out to the left. Everyone say hi. High five your neighbor. These are routines. It's not just for connection with the clientele. It's also a program for you. It's just a routine that you get yourself into that oftentimes loops you right back to who you are.
Cool. So Jordan said, yeah, I like that method. Thanks for the feedback. Let's do some shout outs too. James Carmody, good to see you. Allison Trevino, good to see you. So I want to give you some more thoughts on that for all of you, Jordan, other people. So one, first I'm going to start by giving you a tool I give to all of my coaching clients. Mostly I only give it to my coaching clients, and that's this. Write in the right place. So WRITE and the RIGHT place. Thank you. You know, I was struggling there. By the way, I want to move this over because I love this one. It says, perhaps today's the day you'll train. Perhaps today is the day you rock it out. So what does right in the right place mean? Well, when you're learning something, and here's why having your emotional state as a speaker is even more important. When your audience is learning your material, the emotional state they're in when they learn from you is the emotional state they'll go to when they use your info. So I used to speak at all these real estate boot camps, and these people were like, I mean, before I got on stage, they were like, ugh. They were like, so, and then they wouldn't use the info. And I was like, well, no wonder you don't use it. You're bored as crap when you're learning it and you're dull. So no wonder they don't use the content. So I realized I need to get them into a positive state. So if I'm teaching sales or personal growth or speaking, the more confident, the more happy, the more fun, the more up I can get people to feel while they're learning, they'll be that way when they use my sales skills, then they'll make more sales. It's a lot better to be up and happy. So when you're learning and practicing something, how you're feeling will attach to when you execute. So when I say right in the right place, what I mean is whatever your happy place is, I want you to go there and at minimum, imagine you're there. So for me, the hot springs is my happy place. I love going to the hot springs. I feel warm. When I go to the hot springs, I feel like I'm creating a memory. I'm doing something that will last the rest of my lifetime. And I feel like I'm really living life. Like I'm living this amazing, unique life that's worth living. So if I feel those three ways, if I feel warm, I'm doing something that creates lifetime memories, I feel like I'm living a life that's worth living, that becomes a part of me. So while I'm at the hot springs, I will think through my presentation. I will write my presentation there, or I will mentally brainstorm on my presentation, or I'll think through the parts of my presentation and imagine I'm doing it while I'm in the hot springs. So if I'm in the hot springs doing this, when I get on stage, I'll be in the hot springs emotionally, and I'll be feeling warm, lifetime memories, like I'm doing something that's worth it, living a life worth living. And the audience will feel the same way. They'll feel that way, like they're living a life worth living, like they are creating something that will do lifetime memories, that they're warm, and they'll attach that to me, and then they're going to be much more likely to want to work with me because I'm sending that out. And what I'm talking about works in person, it works on webinars, it works wherever. So you could shorthand all this by saying you have to train ahead of time. Your speaker results are determined by your speaker training, and part of the hidden training is the subconscious work you do to anchor in yourself the emotions you want to have. And so that works like I get almost every time I have a big speaking gig, I'll get a massage that week. I'll make sure I've exercised. I'll do meditation. I'll watch funny movies. I do all of that leading up. I'll have processes to where I can clean myself out mentally. I'll talk to one of my coaches. I work with a woman named Liz who does emotional release work. I'll make sure there's nothing negative in my space, that I'm open up to having the sales come in. I make sure I'm tithing on time. I mean, I tithe on time anyway, but I really make sure when I'm speaking, maybe I give a little extra. Totally weird story. You know Benny Hinn?
Yeah.
That like total like huckster dude.
They were gonna give me. I was supposed to massage him back in the day.
Really? So back in 2016, I just joined this coaching program, and it was like $24,000 for the year, and I didn't have $24,000 laying around, and I was like down to my last like $1,500 or something. And my friend's like, let's go see Benny Hinn. And I'm like, I didn't really know who he was until I saw him get on stage. But before Benny Hinn comes out, this guy's like, and you guys, I'm not condoning saying you should or shouldn't do this. I'm just telling you what happened. So this guy's like, we believe 50 people here are getting $1,000 today. 50 people are gonna give. I'm like, this guy's on crack. There's no one here, and these people are giving $1,000. And then I felt led to give 1,000. I'm like, no, I only have 1,500 in my account. I'm like, no, and I give the $1,000, and I'm like, whatever. It's for God, no matter what. There's only one place God says test me, and that's with tithing. So I'm like, whatever. It goes for God, and who knows what Benny Hinn does, but I'm giving it to God, right? So, and I only say about Benny Hinn because I've heard mixed things, right?
Yeah.
All I know is this. We had an event that weekend, and we did almost 70,000 in sales, and I hadn't done over like 20,000 at an event in years. All I know is I gave that $1,000, and it really stretched, and then we had our highest selling event in like, I think 5 years. I was like, no, that was 2016. That was our highest selling event in almost 10 years. Yeah, crazy. And it could be that. It could be as a speaker, if you want to sell, you have to make sure your hands are open. So one of the things I do when I'm going to sell, I go buy something. I will spend money I didn't know. We have Harold staying here temporarily, and we have some other people coming out for events. So we went and buy a bed. That's not in the budget, but I figure I want more sales, so it'll come back because I'm like this. So anyway, so let me recap. I'm right in the right place. I get body work done. I work with coaches. I work with it. I do all this prep. And then one of the things I do is I lay an anchor. So at our events, we do a lot of breakthrough work to get people on fire. And one of the things we do is we have them pump up. You shake your hands in the air, you get your knees pumping. You go, yes, yes, yes. And that open body and moving your body aggressively right before going on stage, it gets the blood flowing. It gets the emotions up. And then the yes, yes, yes. What I do in a daily life, if I am out hiking or something and the sunset's just gorgeous. When you have those moments and it's just like, I go, yes, yes, yes. And then if I rock it on stage, I get a standing ovation. I go, yes, yes, yes. When we do processes during our events, we have one process where people walk down the line and people give them compliments and tell them like what they see in them that's great. And usually people's eyes are full of tears. As people are complimenting me, I'll be going, yes, yes, yes. So then what happens is, it's like if you imagine I'm filling this full of energy when I'm about to go on stage and it's time to get the energy popping, I'll go, yes, yes, yes. And then boom, all of that comes back to me and I'm up. So I put in the time and energy to lay down this anchor so that I could trigger it when I need it. So boom, I'm right there. And then I'll turn it back to you in a second. And then one of the things also I might do is when I work with people, and you guys can start doing this when Harold said like little anchors, yes, yes, yes is a really great one. The other one is, when you're in your happy place, like one of our clients, smoking cigars was his happy place. He loved to just smoke cigars. So when he holds a cigar, he's kind of like this. So a very subtle way that he could remind himself, this is more like a French cigarette. So one of the things he could do would be pretend it's a cigar. He could just kind of stand like this, but without anything in his hand. He could just go, yeah. And no one's going to notice he's doing this. But this would be an anchor for remember how I feel when I'm hanging out smoking cigars. Or he could even go, if he needed to really anchor it. And then that takes him to one of his happy places of smoking cigars. Does that make sense? And then the last, like that same guy, his other happy place was the spa. And he was a financial planner. And before, he was really tight on stage. He didn't know he could be funny. He wasn't creating really, he thought he had to be like this, professional. So we started going to the spa. And we wrote his presentation sitting in the hot tub. And then after the presentation was written, we went and got massages. And he's here and I'm here. And I relaxed him using hypnosis techniques. And then I walk him through every part of his presentation. You're taking the stage. You're asking these questions. You're laying this hook. You're telling your story. And he's getting a massage the entire time. So the next time he's on stage, he's just like so loose because he feels like he's in the spa. Mm-hmm. And then he crushed it. He went from like 2% of people signing up to 25 to 50 to 75 to 100 on his last presentation. So this stuff works, you guys, and you got to put the work in ahead of time. Back to you.
And that's something I like to call the tuning. There's something called the tuning fork effect, and it's the fact that and we've seen this so many times, even at inside of Jase's seminars and a lot of the seminars I put on, whereas I can get one person to pop in that crowd and like 5 other people or maybe even more, someone's going to get that same effect because we're at that point we're doing something that resonates with everybody else in the room, and not just on a mental level, a physical level. It's a physical release. It's a physical energy. That's a vibration that passes through all of us. And the closer you are, the more this might make you go, It might make you have that little bit of a release. And Jase was speaking about how they do walk through and do those compliments and staring in each other's eyes. When you get to a certain higher level, one of the things I would do is we would take all the things that someone didn't like about themselves and say it to their face and repeat it back to them, and then teach them the ability to let it just wash over them like words. It's just nothing. Do not let it physically attach to you, because those are our deepest fears. Those are the things that we, for whatever reason, we want to hold on to. We want to make some of those true, even though they're not. Even though it has zero chance. I like to put it this way: all those conversations are happening, and somehow the things you're most afraid of, like harming us, killing us, tearing us down, having us end up alone and dead, in spite of all those negative conversations going on, and so much lack of training that people have going towards the life that they want, we're still surviving. We're still thriving on some level, and I guess it's one of those things like when's I guess it's just good enough. I have all these things, but if you start aligning yourself and really truly training your mind, your body, your energy, and you get yourself going in that direction, it's like that wheel starts moving, and once you put these things in place, it just starts happening. You start going forward and forward, and before you know it, things just start happening. It's getting rid of all that stuff, like just saying enough. I am here now, and that stuff is where it needs to be. It got me here. Like, how do I get myself from here? Like, this is where I'm at now.
Nice.
Like, this has got me to this point. And when you've had enough of okay, yeah, thank you for getting me here. Now I want to go there, and then commit to that. And instead of fighting with whatever's behind you, but I'm good enough. I'm not good enough.
That's nice. My mom says Harold knows what he's saying. Also, new shout outs. Jeff Salonis joined. What's up, Jeff? And then we did a watch party, and so I'm not used to seeing the names. They showed up very subtle. So if I missed shouting you out, you're no longer here. Sorry. If you're here, great. David Fagan joined. Tammy Murphy joined. John Polish, Erica, Lorianne Reeves, Erica Kierce, Sheila Marvell joined. Erica, Corey Stewart. Hey, Corey, give a big wave. What's up, Corey? And Melissa Brote. Hey, Melissa. And Faith McSweeney. Faith Goodwell. Yay, good to see you. Good to see you, Faith. Yeah, I got all these cool people coming in. Cool. So we got a few more minutes to go on. I want to share with you guys, totally right turn. I want to share with you guys something super, super exciting, but I'm going to do that in just a minute. So any other questions, pop them in here. And then one of the things too, like I'm seeing Erica's comment here about losing weight. So Harold referenced a woman who gained a lot of weight and couldn't have kids. And it made me think of the first time I really got this emotional body connection was we had this high-level advanced program called the Limited Weekend. We would do multiple hypnotherapy sessions on people over the course of the weekend. They come on Thursday, they leave Sunday, a different human being. Harold would do some body work on them. It was incredible. So this one woman, we would have like private hypnosis sessions, and then we'd also have group times to come together. We had caterers come when the food. They made a seafood tsunami the last night. They would just send out. It was like tapas before tapas was popular. They would just send out waves and waves of seafood that we had at St. Augustine, so they go down and buy it right from the fishermen on the wharf. It was just amazing, right? Yeah. So I'm thinking about bringing it back at some point. It's such a good course. So why am I sharing all this? This one woman is sitting there. We're talking to a group, and she starts crying and crying and crying. Very obese woman, really, really obese. And by the way, when I say that, I'm just describing current situation. There's no judgment, because I believe people are always doing the best she can, and there's a good reason for why they're. If you don't like the behavior, the story will break your heart. And so, his dog. I have to show you this. Totally distracting me. She's like, for some reason, going behind the curtain, and she's like about to knock over the. I'm sorry, guys. Some people hate when I get all distracted. She's literally. What are you doing, Mayberry? Oh, she's trying to make her way under the table.
Okay, she's back.
I gave you a behind the scenes of what our whole studio. Here's the studio, by the way. Oh, did I tell you guys? I'm going to start importing African art. So all right. So back to our regularly scheduled program. So all right. So we're sitting around in a circle. Sorry about that. Mayberry was totally distracting me from it. And this woman starts crying, and she's really obese. And we're like, "What's up?" And she goes, I just realized why I hold the weight. See, what happens in the way subconscious reprogramming works and the way it works to clean out your body, there's stuff that's happening, but you don't necessarily know why until you do the work, and then it becomes conscious, and then you can process it out and replace it with something more powerful and effective for you. So she goes, I just realized I hold the weight because I'm afraid if I lost the weight, my husband would want to have sex with me. And in her brain, her husband having sex with her would have been an incredibly emotionally painful thing. And that came out of probably their relationship dynamic and something that happened to her as a kid. And so when I say people are doing the best they can, remember I talked about if someone had been wounded here, they're going to lock down. Well, for her, she was very wounded as a child, probably sexually abused. And so that weight becomes a protection mechanism. And frankly, a lot of people who are really obese, especially women, have had some sort of sexual trauma from when they were a child. Mm-hmm. And so if you think about it as a way to keep them safe and avoid that pain again, they're really being smart in a certain way. Their body and their subconscious is being smart to protect them from that incredible pain. So what I would love to see them do is do the work to process it out, to move through the pain, to find forgiveness, to find a whole new life, and then to get healthier physically, mentally, and emotionally. Typically what it requires, though, is we got to heal inside, and then the external heals. So bringing it back to you as a speaker, on some level, what's that obesity that you're holding on to that came from a pain as a child that needs to be let go of today? And so that's what we're talking about. And it starts with doing the work inside. Real quick, some other shout outs real quick. Scott Bryan, another old, it's an honor. I have all these like college buddies that join. Lynn Helen, good to see you. Telly Pena, Scott Bryan, man, it's so good to see you, brother. He gave me such a nice compliment. He's like, I watch every week. Like an old fraternity brother. We had a happy hour when COVID was going on big time. And so you guys get what I'm saying?
And well, speaking on just something that might not resonate as deeply as someone who had the weight. I actually got invited to San Francisco a while back, and they were doing hypnosis on a woman who wanted to, and I'm just bringing this up because sometimes it's important to take a step back because we can almost want the outcome for a client more than they want it. And I thought this is an important piece to bring in too. So they were pushing this person to make cigarettes bad, and they were not digging deep enough to find out why she even wanted it to begin with. And I was watching from the side, and I just saw this woman cringing and feeling attacked. And all she wanted was a cigarette in that moment because that's what. And so they were getting nowhere, and I asked if I could step in. And we went a little further back and calmed the whole energy down and did some breathing and just softened it all up. Come to find out, the reason why she was smoking cigarettes was because she was a foster child. And she got bounced and she was unloved, and she got bounced from like numerous foster homes. And eventually she found a foster home where, wasn't perfect. It wasn't her mom and dad. It wasn't loved, but it was finally a soft landing spot. And she got in there and she was stressed, and she was like 13 or 14 years old. And one of her foster brothers took her outside and smoked a cigarette. And it was the first time she felt safe in years. So that was the emotional content she was holding on to. It wasn't the cigarette. It was the moment of safety. And it wasn't until we exposed that and gave her the tool to go, well, is it the cigarette you want? So let's attach the negative to the cigarette, but let's hold on to the feeling of safe. And I probably should reach out to this human being again, because I'm not sure if they completely quit smoking, because at that point it's a choice. It's not a victimhood. It's not, I need to. It's a choice to have it or not. And it took that moment for her to realize she can still hold that memory, the nostalgia of that moment, and hold on to it and keep it in her heart because it was so important to her and her development. But the thing that was causing her pain and not to breathe and not to be able to exercise, that can go away. And you can have both sides of it. So we never truly know where someone's coming from or what their story really is. And it's really important to just have the patience to work with them and to understand that it's not the outcome that we're looking for, it's the outcome that they're looking for. And we're just the shepherds that lead them down that path.
Mm-hmm. Man, that is a hard one when you want it more than them. That, guys, one of the ways to get people to commit to their change and to make sure that it's not you wanting it more than them is you get them to pay. If they're not willing to pay, they're not, they're not really committed. But when they're committed, they'll find a way to pay no matter what. Some other shout outs. Did I say hi to Telly? Telly's here. Good to see you, Telly. Christy says, deep dive. She said we're doing a deep dive. Or no, Corey said deep dive. Yeah, thanks, Corey. So I want to kind of shift gears for a minute and share with you something that's super exciting. And how's that content? I hope you guys like that content today. And I really believe this, to start to wrap this up. If you help people have mental and emotional breakthroughs, but it's still locked in the body, have they really made a breakthrough? If it's still in the DNA, if it's still in the cells, if muscles have memory, have they really made a breakthrough? Any other thoughts you want to share before I show them this new thing I'm excited about?
I'll take on that on a little bit. So it's important as well to understand the other side of the mental breakthrough. Is someone says, I went to the gym and I'm working out hard, and every time I get stressed out, I work out. But then is it becoming is it now a medication, or is it a way of feeling good? So it's intentionality was what causes the change in the physical body and the mental body as well. Is a clear intention of, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to run from pain? Am I doing this to feel well? Clear intentionality. And there's a lot more energy, a lot more power in knowing why you're doing it, as opposed to having to do it. Get the victimhood out of it. Take the I need and change it to I want. Because it changes the intentionality, changes the outcome, it changes the experience completely. I've been working out here with these guys, and yesterday I told our trainer, I told Albert, I said, I didn't want to come today, Albert. He goes, why don't you call me? I'm like, because I knew it wasn't the right thing to do. And it's like one of those things where I know when I'm hitting that point where I don't want to do something, I need to do it. And it's not a negative, because I know the outcome isn't pain. The outcome isn't to not feel bad. The outcome is 2-3 years down the road, when I'm feeling like a rock star, when I've taken this little step and it's grown into multiple other steps of wellness. And I'm attached to that. I'm attached to that far out place, as opposed to being in that moment of just reacting to my pain in that moment of fear.
Yeah, got to commit to the bigger. Corey says, this is why I do holistic healing with physical, energy, and intellectual. Awesome. And she says, so important to work with it all. Yeah, it absolutely is. And so if you're hosting events, if it's not you who knows how to do it, bring someone like Harold in, or it sounds like Corey. I don't know if she's available. And if you want to be more powerful as a healer and coach, you have to take all those pieces into it. Erica says she holds weight from childhood trauma. When I was young, we didn't have much food in my house. We were often hungry. In my adult years, I connected that in stressful times. I eat more, hoard food, because there's a fear I won't have food again. Awesome. Great. That's the first step, is seeing it, and then you get to process it out. That is just fantastic. And part of what Harold said, by the way, if you guys are liking the stream, do me a favor, mash that love button. I think Corey just mashed the love button. Thank you. Mash that like button and share the stream. We want to help more people who can then help more people. So taking what you were just talking about where you're coming from, as a speaker, I really want you to do a gut check too. Are you speaking for your ego, for your edification, or are you speaking for the audience to win? And if it's not for the audience to win, it's going to be flat. And if it is for the audience to win, it's going to work. And so every time you speak, you are there for the audience's life to get better, and for them to make a new choice of life, a new decision, a new action, a new way of being. And if you're not, you're probably just speaking for your edification, and stop it. The world's full of ego. We don't need more of it. It's time to go forward. So would you guys like a tool that can help you rock presentations, get you prepped for events, get your presentations locked in, dialed in, help you learn how to be better on video, help you learn how to crush it on webinars, help you learn how to crush on seminars, put your products together, help you get on stage? I have something for you. Now, we are live streaming today from Facebook, so I can't screen share. So I'm going to do the old version of screen sharing, where you literally hold something up in front of the camera. So we're so excited to launch this out. It's just coming out right now. It is the World Class Speaker Academy, and we're launching World Class Speaker Coaching. So I had this in process before COVID hit, but now that COVID hit, it is just so great. So it is an online library of some of my best trainings, and we've got trainings in here about how to be more effective on stage, the greatest opening to get your audience's attention and involvement, basically what I'm doing is taking the best of my $25,000 a year program and putting up as much. So here's how to improve you and your personal sales skills. Here's your core compelling content. There's virtual intensives I did. There's openings. There's things about why they buy. Some training on being great on video. We have more and more and more coming out. So like, for instance, this one is when you open up Sales Aikido, it's actually a multi-part video training on the psychology of your buyer and audience. It's about, I don't know, this one alone is like 6 hours of training. So the whole thing is designed to help you have the tools to study at home so you can rock it out and make your sales go way up. We really want to help coaches, experts, consultants, authors. We really want to help them crush it using public presentations and selling from stage so they impact more lives and they make way more sales. There is a science to selling from stage, and we've cracked the code, and you can learn it. So if you're interested, here's what you can do. I'm taking one-on-one discovery conversations, enrollment conversations to make sure it's a fit for you. We're also combining it with group coaching calls and some other bonuses and surprises I'll tell you about. So if you're interested, just go to callwithjase.com. I will put that in the comments. Just go to callwithjase.com. You can book in a free 30-minute session with me, or actually it's a 45-minute session with me. And then it also send you a little questionnaire so I know where your business is at right now. And we'll talk about it. We'll see where you are, and I'll give you my diagnosis and prescription on what I think is next for you to start selling from stage and crushing it to grow your coaching business. If it's not us, I'll let you know. And if it is, I'll let you know. And right now we're launching. And so we have some really special bonuses and some other things we're including, as well as some big discounts. So that's where people are interested in getting in. So just go to callwithjase.com. That's callwithjase.com. And if you know a coach or an expert who's using speaking, whether it's on a webinar or a Facebook Live or a conference to grow their business, we want to help them, because our goal, we believe you have a God-given mission only you can do, and it can be fulfilled and funded through your business. So we want to help more good-hearted people grow their business, grow their influence, grow their income, and impact more lives. So if we can do this all over America and the world, we'll actually have a chance to make this world a better place. So that's what we've got. Go to callwithjase.com. So that's our show for today. Any final thoughts you've got? Corey says she's virtually available and hoping we can all do in-person events soon. Amen to that. And reach out to Corey, you guys. She commented in the comments. Just you can find her there.
So I'm gonna leave it with the end of we don't have to end the conversation. We can always go longer for once. But one of the things I want to point out is for myself, this situation for many people wasn't, it's not ideal. I was furloughed the day after St. Patrick's Day, and it took me a long time to finally officially get laid off, and I was struggling. And what am I going to do next? What's my next step? And I'm like, I have a tool skit. I have the tools available and knowledge available that's ready to be used. I implore anybody to take this stand and realize this is a blessing. This is an opportunity. And if you can look at it that way, and it's not to take away from any of the tragedy and what's going on in the world right now, but personally, how do you want to approach the situation? And this is a time, like, take the trainings, do what you can do to better yourself in this moment. Because when we are available to get back face to face, when we do have the ability to get back in front of people, what a great opportunity to work on yourself when you're forced to stay home and work on yourself. Or you can stay home and vacuum, drink wine, hang out, play video game, whatever you choose to do. But this is a great opportunity to take this time to really work on yourself. And I know that's what I've chosen to do. I know there's many other people that are doing the same thing. It's a great time for invention, reinvention, and self-discovery, and it's a beautiful thing. So I implore anybody that's on the fence to get going, because it's a new world on the way.
One of my first mentors used to say, your downtime efforts determine your uptime results. And I think that's what you're saying. It's like what you guys will put into training yourself, to writing your presentations, to learning how to sell, and today's topic especially, to doing the inner work so your outer you is the best possible. That's what's going to make such a difference in your business and in your sales going forward, which means when I say sales, that means how many lives you can really touch, how many lives you can impact. So awesome. Good work. That was a good call. Thanks for coming on. Harold Maloy, everybody. He's tagged in the description for the show if you're interested in talking to him about body work. And part of our reason for getting him out here is he had a amazing, talented healer who had a near-death experience. We didn't even talk about this at all. Kind of got him off track, and he's been managing restaurants for a while, and it's time for him to step back in his gifting. So if you're interested in doing some one-on-one work or some private training, or perhaps having them come to one of your events, getting your people, once we can do live events, get your people more open for sales, reach out. We tagged him. It's Harold Bubba Maloy, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 11 Pacific, 2 Eastern. And remember this, God loves you guys. You got a mission, go live it. Bye, everybody.